In today's automotive market, fuel-powered vehicles still hold a strong position, thanks to several unique advantages that electric vehicles, EVs, have yet to fully match. For anyone considering switching to an EV, it's essential to understand these differences to make a more informed and suitable purchase decision. Let's take a closer look at 6 key advantages that fuel-powered vehicles currently maintain and why EVs still struggle to compete in these areas. 1. Fast and convenient refueling without long wait times. One of the biggest advantages of gas-powered cars is the speed and ease of energy replenishment, especially during holidays and road trips. At a gas station, refueling usually takes just a few minutes. Even if you have to wait in line, it's rarely more than 5 to 10 minutes before you're back on the road. By contrast, charging an electric vehicle takes significantly more time and planning. Drivers on highways often compare the charging experience to waiting for a table at a busy restaurant. In popular service areas, it's not uncommon to see long lines of EVs waiting to charge, sometimes taking up hours of precious travel time. This can be especially frustrating during peak seasons like long weekends or holiday travel. 2. Reliable cold weather performance. Fuel-powered vehicles are less affected by low temperatures, making them ideal for drivers in northern or colder regions. Sure, fuel consumption increases a bit during winter, but the impact is minor. You can simply stop by a gas station, refuel in 5 minutes, and continue driving without much hassle. Although the cost per refuel may be higher than charging an EV, it's usually around a few hundred yuan, roughly $40 to $60 USD, a manageable expense for most drivers. In contrast, EV range can drop dramatically in cold weather. At temperatures around -10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit, even well-performing EVs may lose up to 50% of their range. For lower-performing models, the effective range could be reduced to just 40%. For example, an EV with a 600 kilometers, 373 miles, rated range might only deliver 250 kilometers, 155 miles, of actual comfortable range once you factor in battery reserves and cold weather loss. The difference is quite significant, and for drivers in colder climates, that can be a major deal breaker. 3. Lower cost for cabin heating in cold weather. Fuel-powered vehicles have a natural advantage when it comes to heating the cabin in winter. Since the engine generates a large amount of waste heat during operation, this heat can be captured and redirected into the cabin via a heat exchanger, essentially recycling energy that would otherwise be wasted. It's like boiling water over a charcoal stove, while also heating your room at the same time. Efficient and cost-effective. Electric vehicles, on the other hand, don't produce engine heat, so they rely entirely on heat pump air conditioning systems. At an ambient temperature of around 2 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, if the car is stationary and the heater is running, it consumes roughly 2.4 kilowatt hours per hour. When driving at 100 kilometers per hour, 62 miles per hour, that means an additional 2.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in energy consumption, on top of what's already needed for propulsion. In stop-and-go traffic, where speeds drop to around 50 kilometers per hour, 31 miles per hour, energy use becomes even more inefficient. Heating consumption can rise to 5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, significantly reducing overall range, especially in winter conditions. 4. Widespread maintenance options and simple repairs. Another major advantage of fuel-powered cars is ease of maintenance. When a breakdown occurs, most issues can be handled at any local repair shop. For popular models like the Nissan Sylphy or Volkswagen Sagitter, their engines have been in production for over a decade, and their components are well understood by mechanics across the board. Even newer gasoline engines still follow similar mechanical principles, allowing experienced technicians to diagnose problems just by listening to the engine or doing a quick inspection. Parts are also more readily available and affordable. In contrast, while EV repair networks are growing, the electronic control systems and vehicle architectures vary greatly across brands. This makes it difficult for independent mechanics to service all EV types, especially newer models with unique software stacks or proprietary battery systems. Moreover, even if an EV comes with a lifetime warranty, repairs done outside of the brand's official service centers can void the warranty or cause disputes. As a result, Many EV owners have no choice but to tow their vehicle to a certified 4S dealership, which is often more expensive and time-consuming. 5. Greater manufacturer stability and more reliable part supply. After more than a century of development, the fuel-powered vehicle market has become relatively mature and stable. Most automakers that lack sustainability or reliability have already been phased out by the market over the years. As a result, the majority of fuel-powered car brands available today, even those with declining popularity, still maintain robust after-sale support, including readily available parts for repairs. The situation is quite different with electric vehicles. If an EV brand goes bankrupt or exits the market, sourcing replacement parts can become a serious issue. Many EV startups lack established parts distribution systems or centralized warehouses, so once the company disappears, support vanishes as well. A quick online search reveals numerous real-world cases where EV owners have been stuck with vehicles they can't repair, simply because parts are no longer available. 6. More stable pricing with less emotional frustration. Fuel-powered vehicles also tend to have more stable pricing over time. Sudden price drops are uncommon, which provides consumers with a greater sense of confidence and peace of mind after making a purchase. In contrast, many EV brands operate under a direct-to-consumer sales model. When prices drop, it's immediately visible on the official website, often accompanied by aggressive promotional banners and marketing campaigns. This creates a situation where buyers may discover that the price of their brand new EV dropped significantly just a day or two later, leading to frustration or a sense of being shortchanged. Most fuel-powered vehicles are still sold through traditional dealership networks, where pricing isn't always as transparent or frequently updated. Unless a buyer actively tracks price changes, they're less likely to notice small fluctuations, reducing the chances of post-purchase regret or price anxiety. So, in today's era of rapid EV development, who is still choosing to buy fuel-powered vehicles? Surprisingly, there are still plenty of consumers opting for gas-powered cars, and they generally fall into 5 categories. 1. Concern about potential EV drawbacks. Some buyers still have serious concerns about electric vehicles. Common worries include 1. Battery safety, with news reports of EV fires and spontaneous combustion making rounds online. 2. Long charging times, which still take significantly more time than a quick stop at the gas pump. 3. Incomplete charging infrastructure, especially for people without a dedicated home parking space. 4. Range anxiety, particularly in cold weather where battery performance drops dramatically. Although EVs have made progress in terms of faster charging and improved range, many of these issues still discourage some consumers from making the switch. 2. Automobile can't fully benefit from EV advantages. For low-mileage drivers, the economic benefits of EVs are minimal. If you drive only around 5,000 kilometers, about 3,100 miles, per year, the savings in fuel costs amount to only a few $100s annually. For those who drive even less, maybe just 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers, 1,200 to 1,800 miles, per year, such as people who use a car only on weekends or holidays, it's simply not cost-effective to invest in an EV. Moreover, electric vehicles don't handle long-term parking well. You typically need to charge a battery to around 50% before leaving it idle or risk damaging battery health. In contrast, fuel-powered vehicles are easier to store. Just disconnect the 12V battery, and you're good to go. 3. Range prioritizing stability, reliability, and durability. Some consumers are looking for proven reliability above all else. For them, the ideal car is one that's easy to maintain, hard to break, and has a long track record of durability. Take models like the Volkswagen La Vida, Nissan Sylphy, Toyota Corolla Cross, or VW Terran. These vehicles have been on the market for over a decade, with some of their engines having 20-plus years of history. After years of minor upgrades and refinements, the technology is mature, well-tested, and familiar to most mechanics. Engines such as 1. Nissan's 1.6L naturally aspirated engine. 2. Toyota's 2.0 LNA engine. 3. Volkswagen's 1.5 LNA and 1.4T turbo engines are all easily serviceable at regular street repair shops. In fact, in many places, if a local mechanic can't fix these engines, they probably shouldn't be in business at all. 4. Label, brand loyalty, and identity. In the fuel-powered vehicle market, brand reputation plays a major role in consumer decisions. For many buyers, the brand name is the single most important factor. They associate legacy brands with higher quality, better reliability, and superior after-sale service. Driving a well-known brand also brings a sense of brand identity and psychological satisfaction. It's not just about performance. It's about trust and pride of ownership. 5. Money with wings budget constraints. For consumers working with a tight budget, fuel-powered vehicles remain the more realistic choice. If someone has a down payment of just 20,000 to 30,000 yuan, roughly $2,800 to 4,200 US dollars, a used fuel-powered vehicle is often the only viable option. Models like the Ford Focus, Mazda sedans, and older Volkswagen Sadger units, especially those that are 10 years or older, are often available at affordable second-hand prices. Even after purchase, these vehicles are relatively inexpensive to operate and maintain, making them ideal for first-time buyers, college students, or those just looking for basic, reliable transportation. Although most people agree that electric vehicles are the future and fuel-powered cars will eventually be phased out, the reality is that this transition is far more complex and slower than it may seem, especially within a 10-year time frame. It's true that many automakers have publicly committed to phasing out internal combustion engine IC vehicles, and we often see headlines about companies announcing the end of fuel-powered car production. However, a closer look reveals that the timelines vary significantly, and in many cases, they're much further off than expected. For example, Volvo announced as early as 2019 that it would focus solely on launching fully electric and hybrid models. Volkswagen plans to stop producing gasoline and diesel cars in Europe by 2035. General Motors has also set 2035 as its target to end production of all gas and diesel-powered cars, trucks, and SUVs. But when you dig into the details, many of these announcements are intentionally vague or limited in scope. Take Volvo again as an example. While it has promised to stop producing pure gasoline vehicles, it still offers hybrids, which continue to rely on fuel and internal combustion technology. In other words, while the era of electrification is indeed underway, the complete elimination of fuel-powered vehicles, including hybrids, is still decades away from most markets. Many automakers are taking incremental steps rather than making abrupt transitions, ensuring they don't disrupt supply chains, service infrastructure, or their customer base too quickly. Since automakers are unlikely to completely stop producing fuel-powered vehicles within the next 10 years, can this goal be achieved instead by banning the sale of such vehicles? The answer is not realistically. 1. Sales bans, more symbolic than practical. While many countries have expressed intentions to ban the sale of gasoline and diesel vehicles, these proposals often carry more symbolic than practical weight. For example, the Netherlands and Norway have proposed banning the sale of new fuel-powered cars by 2025. Germany's federal Senate passed a motion to stop the sale of IC vehicles by 2030. France has announced its goal to completely ban the sale of fuel-powered vehicles by 2040. However, these policies are often non-binding resolutions, lacking legal enforcement mechanisms, and are generally seen as political statements aimed at showing environmental ambition, rather than concrete regulatory mandates. 2. Battery technology is still a bottleneck. From the consumer perspective, it's also extremely difficult to fully transition away from fuel-powered cars within a decade, primarily due to battery technology limitations. Current battery tech still faces key challenges: limited driving range, especially in cold weather; inconvenient charging, especially for those without home charging access; slow charging speeds. Even with improvements, most EVs still require at least 30 to 60 minutes to charge from 20% to 80%, and even longer if using a low-power charging station. Grid capacity strain, as widespread EV adoption would place a heavy burden on existing power infrastructure. Until breakthroughs are made in solid-state batteries, ultra-fast charging, and power grid upgrades, full electrification remains an aspirational goal rather than an imminent reality. 3. In conclusion, phasing out IC vehicles will take time. unless governments implement sweeping legislation within the next decade that outright bans the sale and use of fuel-powered vehicles. A full phase-out is highly unlikely. Even if some automakers halt production in the coming years, gasoline and diesel vehicles will still be on the road 10 years from now, just like how you can still spot cars from 15 or even 20 years ago cruising around today. The shift to EVs is happening, but it's a gradual evolution, not an overnight revolution.